Elliott Forrest, and welcome to another Artist Check-In. Today I'm joined by two artists that we are so proud to have worked with at WQXR in the past. Joining us is mezzo-soprano Denyce Graves from her car, I guess, right?
That's correct.
She is. Thank you so much for taking time with us today. And also joining us is baritone Justin Austin, not driving, I'm guessing, right? No, you're right there. On April 18th, mark your calendars, you can see these two compelling vocal artists bring the immersive concert Cotton to the 92nd Street Y. This multimedia performance is inspired by Philadelphia based photographer John Dowell's 2018 exhibit, Cotton, the Soft, Dangerous Beauty of the Past. Will one of you tell me a little bit more about what exactly this project is and what the audience will see?
It's a truly, uniquely, tragically American story. The power of John Dowell's photography influenced the extraordinary writing of all of these poems. It's a different poem for each piece. It's a different poet for each piece. The extraordinary poetry informed Damien Jeter's writing. It's a culmination of the greatest artistry that can come from the fabric of the United States of America.
And when you say fabric of America, there's a double meaning there. Obviously, there's the literal cotton, but then there's the fabric of all of us. Is there a hidden story about this cotton that we don't really know? I have to say, I grew up in West Texas, and there were a lot of cotton fields, and it really felt like that was a product of the South. But that's not exclusively right. This is a story about the North and the Northeast as well, right?
A very fascinating part of this story is the fact that um, John Dowell had never experienced what a cotton field looked like. And he got later on in his life and he decided to visit the South and just see what everything was about. And when he visited these the fields and the plantations, something struck a chord in him, and he felt inspired to pull out his camera and take some photos. And uh, when he actually created the artwork, it's not just super realism photos. It's he has them superimposed onto images of Harlem. He has the cotton fields wrapped around buildings on Wall Street. I mean, they're truly unique works of art that I think tell their own story.
Do you have different perspectives on history, American history, based on working on this project?
Justin and I'm sure we do. I'm sure we do. We've had very we have very different experiences and very different generations, and so I my parents come from the South, and my great grandfather was a slave, and so the stories that we heard about cotton were not necessarily ones that celebrate the beauty of what cotton is, and not all of them sort of reflect in that way. But certainly the stories that I heard growing up as a young child were about, how difficult it was and the blisters that they had and the blood that was always, for me, in my mind, immediately sort of went to a place of a more oppressive nature. And that's not what we explore, in the telling of these stories. There are many, many, many different stories and many different perspectives around what cotton is. I think you see it in all of its spectrum.
I completely agree. Surprisingly, my perspective isn't that much different, even though we come from two different backgrounds and are two different generations. You wouldn't think that I would be familiar because I was born in Germany and I grew up most of my life in New York City. So, like, what would I know about the Deep South and, plantations and such? But, my family is deeply rooted in the South. My grandfather was classmates with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at Morehouse. Um, my juxtaposed to that, my grandfather on my father's side was born a slave. Can you imagine that? We think slavery was so long. Similarly to Denyce, when I my first thought when I thought about cotton was very dark. But I think that is one of the things that I find so beautiful about this piece is because yes, we go there and talk about the atrocities of the you know history of the U.S. But at the same time, we talk about the beauty that cotton represents. The hope that our ancestors thrived for.
Before I let you both go, Denyce, first, you were recently part of our Young Artist Showcase. You brought some students. Tell us about the work you're doing with young people these days.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about that because I'm so proud of them. We were invited by WQXR to hear some of our cohort, and with the emphasis around highlighting and bringing into rightful prominence those great Americans who have been left out of the telling of the American story, and so making sure that the American canon is complete with with contributions from all kinds of people, whether it's African Americans, whether it's women, whether it's faith-based, whether it's LGBTQ or whatever, and making sure that the conservatories have a responsibility in terms of telling all of our history. And so one of the projects that we do is we have the young people explore and to learn about some of the great hidden figures or some of the lesser known composers, and do lecture recitals around them and perform their material in the conservatories, for their concerts, for their auditions, that sort of thing. And so we were able to bring that to QXR, and we had a wonderful time. Everybody was so lovely, so kind to us, and the kids were so, I call them kids, they're young adults, but anyway, and they were so happy to have been a part of it and to be in a real recording studio and to be able to sing and to showcase some of this music. And in some cases, we're working with conductors from the Metropolitan Opera who had said to us, we'd never heard music like this before. We didn't even know that kind of music existed. And so this is the thing that we're really, really proud of, to be able to shine a light on and to introduce and to celebrate through a lens in which I think people can receive it, through a language that is a universal language that makes us more alike than unalike.
And Justin, you were a part of our Artist Propulsion Lab. How was that for you? What was your favorite part?
I think the greatest part of the Artist Propulsion Lab was the opportunity to explore the different facets of multimedia and what we can do as artists outside of performing on a stage. We had the opportunity to host a radio show. We had the opportunity to produce our own events. I did a panel discussion / performance of what it means to be American. And we were all talking about what it meant to us to be American. And we all had different answers. And I think that is what is so beautiful about this country, is that it's not just one answer, you know? And it's the coming together of all different shades and all different backgrounds and all different walks of life that makes this country so beautiful, but having an opportunity to talk about that, to share that, to show the pride I have in my country, but also the questions I have for my country. It was just, where else would I have received an opportunity to explore not just that side of my intellectual, mind, but also my artistic mind.
The new work is called Cotton, the Soft, Dangerous Beauty of the Past at the 92nd Street Y. Denyce Graves, Justin Austin, thank you so much for joining me.